I'm going to go ahead and turn that portion of the meeting over to Vice Chair Bakken.
Thank you. Once again, this is a public hearing regarding a plan on redesigning the elective office of Burley County Auditor Treasurer to an appointed office. Just as far as guidelines, you must be a Burley County resident to speak. One topic for discussion, and that's the topic at hand. No discussion on previous home rule charters or other positions. 5-minute time limit. Speakers cannot yield time to another person. Speakers sign in and provide comment at the podium. Try not to repeat what was already stated. If you have already provided comments at a previous public hearing, please allow others an opportunity to speak. We've already collected your comments, and we do greatly appreciate that. Also, if anybody wants to see, as per the duties of the Auditor Treasurer, as per the Century Code, there is a copy up there on the podium, so feel free to grab that. We do have some other public hearing dates that are coming up besides this regular meeting. March 22nd, 10 a.m., Wilton Memorial Hall at 105 Dakota Avenue in Wilton. That'll be on Beck as well. March 22nd, 2 p.m., Sterling School, 118 Mackenzie Street in Sterling. March 29th, 10:30 a.m. at 2021 North 5th Street in Bismarck at the Bismarck Burley Public Library, and April 7th will be at our regular Burley County Commission meeting. So a lot of opportunities, and please, if you have not done so, you do have an opportunity to weigh in online at www.burley.gov. There is a public input form there available on our website, so feel free to weigh in there as well. And with that, I open up the public hearing for anyone wishing to speak. Please sign at the podium, state your name for the record, and
I already signed in earlier. Well, in this case, Chair Bakken and Commissioners. First of all, foremost, Steve, thanks for traveling to Washington on our behalf. Appreciate that. I got a meeting upstairs, so I'm just going to read. And I know you put some conditions on and things, but I can't reword it.
that's
so
fine.
I've spent too much time in front of people today.
Oh, name for the record, just.
Oh, Mike Conley.
And a resident of Bismarck.
Yeah, resident of Bismarck, and elected official, stating my opinion on it. I would like to begin with anything that I share tonight is on behalf of the citizens of Burley County. To assume different would be wrong. I am not here to defend the auditor. I've been told by people in this room that they think that's my intention. Let me be clear. I am here on behalf of how I view respect to the citizen, and that's my opinion, no more, no less. The auditor can own his decisions, regardless of my friendship with him and anyone else in the room. He does have a history of not attending meetings. This was something that was true when he was representing Bismarck as a part-time elected official, and he said as much during the videos that we all can see. I go and I watch an enormous amount of meetings, and many have witnessed as such over the last decade in my part-time availability. As a citizen, I am not able to defend how that leaves leadership in compromise on behalf of representing the citizen. I do think he has the qualities for his elected position, and only through his actions will that improve. I also want to mention, because I respect every seat here, is I will not be part of any recall efforts and any of that nature. I'm paraphrasing there out of respect. Number one reason I'm here today is to defend the checks and balances of citizen representation through the elected positions. In Burley County, that is currently 8 positions, and I believe that it should always be 8 positions without exception. If the county wanted to create 1 or 2 additional positions or add job descriptions under current positions to cover the topics like investments or administration nuances, then just do it. Leave the auditor position an elected position. The reason I say what I have is that this topic of appointment has been a topic since way before Mark was ever elected. In 2020, the citizens of Burley County overwhelmingly rejected the idea of changing the position to appointed. In 22, my application to be on the County Commission Home Rule Charter Subcommittee was accepted with the purpose of drafting language for asking the voters to delegate permission to the Burley County Commission to enact additional ordinance opportunities outside of their planning and zoning authority. Again, no more, no less. We had a handful of meetings, and when close to the end of the meetings, we as a subcommittee were thrown a curveball at best. During the 11th hour, we were presented to us the wording of Article 3, which we were told was just a clerical adjustment to bring the words within the Home Rule Charter in compliance with State Century Code. Much like our current year state measure, adjusting wording and how the Ann Carlson School is depicted in Century Code. Many members of the community were paying attention, and I personally received numerous calls stating that this was an effort to overturn the initiated measure vote in 2020. Respecting the calls, I reached out to the state's attorney, and we had a long phone conversation. And based on that conversation, I felt assured that it was truly presented in the recently shared recording by another citizen, Dustin Geverlo. In hindsight, always being 2020, I believe we were led astray in the impacts of the purpose of adding Article 3 wording to the ballot language from the 2022 initiated measure. At first, I was trying to determine if it was just a mislead or was it intentional or unintentional, just not genuine or a flat-out lie. I've worked diligently during the last couple of months to define the difference, and it was not until Dustin Geverlo's recent town hall meeting that I have determined that we were lied to in 2022. At the beginning of the meeting, when I started to share my experience, I was asked if I thought it was a lie, and I said I was not sure, but I definitely didn't think that the Article 3 was presented in a genuine manner. Later, Dustin shared a response to an email he sent the state's attorney with the very question to the Article 3 discussion from 2022. And paraphrasing, the response stated was that late in the recording that the citizen could contest the appointment and the petition for a vote by the people again. You can listen to the recording yourself. She did say it. The problem is that by saying it turns the context from changing the wording in the Home Rule Charter from just a clerical alignment with the Century Code to where we are today and it's significantly different. Thus, I am totally convinced that we were lied to in 2022. The voters went on to barely pass the measure. They had very little understanding of what the ramifications were going forward. Now I stand here before you today with a request. Have this put on the next ballot. We cannot put the genie back in the bottle of this problem, and thus we have to grow through it. Do not move to appoint without hearing from the voting citizens. Do not make the lie the foundation of what you act upon by making the citizens collect signatures in 30 days after a resolution to force a vote. If you do move to appoint, have the state's attorney bring several copies of the petition to attending members to hand out. In that case, I will personally try to right that wrong because I feel that in part is on me from the 2022 Home Rule Charter Committee, which I was a member, and I will be collecting signatures. In summary, I will encourage the Burley County Commission to place the question as an initiative on the next election to the citizens so we can right this wrong and the county can adjust internally to serve the citizens more efficiently so we can get back to the citizens' business. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Conley. This is a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak regarding the plan on redesignating an elective office of Burley County Auditor Treasurer to an appointed office? If you have not spoken before, please come up, state your name for the record.
Ryan Marquardt.
Did you sign in on the sheet?
I'm going to sign here in a sec. Yep.
And are you a Burley County resident?
Yes, sir, I am. Chairman, members of the committee, the Burley County Auditor's Office upheld election integrity, and I am here to share how verifying my signature ensured my ballot was counted, demonstrating my rigorous safeguards are essential to fair elections. I'd like to share my personal experience regarding the integrity of Burley County Auditor's Office and County Auditor Mark Spilowski. During the first week of early voting, I cast my absentee ballot, signing and dating it. Before a submission, a few days later, I received a letter and an email from the auditor's office requesting that I verify my signature. As it did not match the one on the record. At first, I was annoyed. I'd taken the time to vote, done everything right, or so I thought, and now I was being told that my vote would not count. Worse yet, if I did not verify my signature, my vote could be contested during the canvassing process. Despite my frustration, I visited the county auditor's office to present my identification card. The staff retrieved my ballot and pointed out the issue. I had mistakenly used my initials instead of my full signature. In that moment, I understood it wasn't about inconvenience. It wasn't about bureaucracy. It was about election integrity. I provided my full signature, ensuring my vote would be counted. The experience demonstrated the diligency of the auditor's office, their commitment to verifying every ballot, even when it meant additional steps for voters, highlighting their dedication to maintaining the integrity of our elections. For that, I extend my gratitude to the Burley County Auditor's Office and to Auditor Mark Spilowski. Their work ensures that every valid vote is counted, every process is followed, and every election remains secure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward.
Real quick, I'd like to, is it okay if Mark could speak?
Mark already spoke, but we can
Okay.
let him speak again, but yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. Sign at the podium, state your name for the record, and are you a resident of Burley County?
Yes, Kyle Engelhardt, resident of Bismarck. I rise today in opposition to making the auditor treasurer an appointed position. This issue came before the public here just a couple of years ago, and the public did not support making it an appointed position. If we're going to go down this path again, I think that it needs to go before the public again, but I mean, this was just a couple of years ago. And so, there's a reason why it is an elected position and not an appointed position. And that's because the auditor should be accountable to the people and not to the commission, who, in a large part, as auditor, they're overseeing. And so it would be best if it remained outside the appointment. That way it's truly accountable to the people and not to the commission that it's overseeing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward.
Hi, my name is Joe Gross. I had signed on that other sheet. Is that okay?
Yeah, what was your name again?
What's that?
What was the name?
Joe Gross.
Nice to meet you.
Yep. I'm a resident of Burleigh County. I was hoping that that pile of issues there would have been read before we commented. Is there any way we could do that, or no? No? Are we going to be finding out what's in there? Or? We will? Okay. Because I think this looks like a broken system. I mean, I've heard the auditor say he's accountable to the people, but the people don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on between you guys and the auditor's office and the employees. And, you know, we have no idea. Before we can vote on an auditor, it'd be nice to know, you know, what's been happening. So I know he's been given his side on the radio, but we haven't heard the other side. And I just think if the system's broken, which it sure looks like it, and it was mentioned last week that this system is set up to fail. If you guys aren't getting along or whatever, if one of them's not doing their job, it would be much better if the auditor was accountable to the commissioners here. And I think it should be an appointed position, and that's my thought. So,
All right. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Hello, I'm Michelle Junt, and I live in Burleigh County. On the KFYR radio show on March the 7th of 2024, you said, our auditor said, the Burleigh County commissioners think they are my boss, and I only answer to the citizens of Burleigh County. Everyone here in this room, including the commissioners, are all citizens of Burleigh County. We have been attending these meetings because we want answers from all sides. 2 weeks ago, a young lady testified that she does not trust the commission. I would like to say that we do. We completely trust these 5 commissioners and want and watch over all aspects, and we want them to watch all aspects and county operations and financial matters. According to North Dakota Century Code, the county auditor's position is more like a chief financial officer. Does our current auditor agree with this assertion? Does he or his office ever perform any audits of Burleigh County books and records? Could our county auditor please explain the reasons for filing the lawsuit against the North Dakota State Election Commission? We would like to know why the county election coordinator resigned 2 weeks before the November 5th, 2024 general election also. We understand there has been a complete turnover of the auditor's office staff over the last 18 months. Why is that? Was our current county auditor involved in a negative campaign advertisement by Brighter Future of Burleigh against Burleigh County Commission Chief Brian Bittner, put out 1 week before the November 2024 general election? Truth or false? Regardless of whether it's legal or not, as the Burleigh County auditor, is it right to send emails or texts during office hours urging citizens to vote against the Burleigh County Commission chair who happens to hold the auditor's portfolio? No, it is not. In numerous appearances on KFYO radio and a speech at the town hall in February 2025, why has our current auditor not taken responsibility for any of these issues? And what steps has he taken or is taking to resolve them? We would like the current auditor to explain the potential negative impact of the citizens of Burleigh County should his position become appointed. The focus should be on the role of CFO for the county. And according to the Bismarck Tribune just days ago on March the 5th, our current auditor asked the county's emergency management director, Ms. Singer, for the final budget, yet told the Tribune you needed 5 months so he could ensure the accuracy of the budget numbers. How could our current auditor have been spending 5 months on working on verifying numbers of a final budget he did not even have in his possession? Other than this hearing from the commissioners here, how would we have known all of this without them? Thank you for your time. That'll be all.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak who has not spoke yet, please come forward. State your name for the record, sign in on the sheet, and are you a resident of Burleigh County? Thank you. Thank you.
Chairman and Commissioners, my name's Jonathan Hooker. I am a resident of Burleigh County. Local business owner. My wife and I are children's pastors over in Mandan. This has a lot of concern for me as I've looked at this. I've had the privilege of looking at this situation from a few different perspectives. One being just the specific situation of whatever's going on between, and I've heard the arguments. I had the privilege of having a lengthy conversation with Commissioner Munson about some of these issues and some of the concerns that you all rightly have, it sounds like. I've also, I'm family to Lisa Hart, so I know I've heard her side of the story. And the last thing I'm here to do after I've heard all of this is actually to bring up the situation with a specific person. I understand the concerns of the fact that we are managing a large budget here, and that it requires some expertise. But that being said, we have the value as citizens of being able to evaluate who we're electing and take a serious look, and vote our conscience. If we don't like the people we see, we either can choose to put someone else up or choose not to vote for that person. In this case, we have, the citizens chose to elect someone, and that role, and that's where I'm kind of at, is I want to keep the role and the person separate. I think the person, there's issues with some people. And if there's a need to recall someone in a position, we should do that as citizens. If there's legitimate issues that as citizens we see, we should pursue a recall vote with any elected official, period. My biggest concern in all of this is this idea of separating auditor from, of keeping the auditor separate from the commission. I have been, my roles have led me through multiple large businesses where I have worked with auditors extensively, both in technology as well as in financials. And as I've looked at how the auditors work, we always want to keep integrity between the business and the audit. And so often, in most cases, we have outside audits just for this reason. Now, I appreciate what was said by, and I forgot his name, the first person who spoke today. If there are specific roles that need to be peeled away, well, maybe we should look at doing that. Maybe that should be a vote that's sent to the people to look at peeling certain pieces of the management of certain parts of the finances away from that role, and maybe make it a truly an audit role. but the office of the audit needs to it needs to maintain its integrity. And so I'm standing here in opposition of moving this position into an appointed role because of the fact we need to maintain that integrity. Allow the voters to make the decision. If it needs to be brought again, bring it again. I was surprised. I guess I should have remembered. I voted back in 22, and I need to go review my vote back in 22 as to what I did. I'm fairly certain I would have probably voted against it at that point. If it needs to go back to the voters, take it back to the voters. But my stance is just that. I stand against, and I ask you all to do the same. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a little reminder, too, if anybody wants a copy of the duties of the auditor treasurer as per the Century Code, because they are laid out very specifically in the Century Code, there is a copy of those at the little sign-up table by the piling. Once again, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. Sign in at the podium, state your name, and are you a resident of Burley County?
I am. I don't know what this number 6 means, but I'll put 6 there. My name is Trina
Just item
Schweitzer.
number.
Oh, I'm from Burley County.
Your name again?
Oh, I am Trina Schweitzer, and I'm from Burley County. And I'm here standing in opposition to changing the auditor's office from an elected position to an appointed position. I believe in checks and balances, and I think it needs to stay this way. I've always voted against it, and I will continue to vote against it. I think it's just too easy for, if it becomes appointed, if there's something between the auditor doesn't like and you guys do like, you can just fire him and he's gone and you just get a new one. And that's not serving the people. And so I would ask you to please leave this position elected so we can elect our own auditor. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. Second call for public hearing. You already spoke, Ryan? That's okay. Okay. Nope, we're just going through it and one and done. Who?
Spoke twice last week, too. There's some good stuff, I think. He spoke
Okay.
twice at the last meeting, so did
Then,
I.
so the recourse on that is to file online, so there's comment opportunity online. We're just taking new people who have not had an opportunity to speak yet. Anyone wishing to come up and speak?
So is the limit 2 per person? Because I'd like to speak again.
No, limit 1 per session.
Okay, so then how?
And then 1 per session.
Okay, so with the commission's permission, I would request an equal opportunity as these gentlemen had last time, speaking twice before.
Okay,
And
but you spoke at the last meeting, Tim.
I did. I have not spoken at this meeting.
Yeah,
So this is an opportunity for the, is there anyone else that wants to speak before me? I'm not holding anyone else back. May I speak?
you spoke at the last meeting, so we already heard what you had to say, and you were
Oh, I got
opposed
more.
to separating it out. So if there's a presentation you'd like to share with the commission, feel free to do that. You can also register any comments online.
Well, my position hasn't changed.
Right.
And I would like to respond to some of the comments that the commissioners had made, and I see Mr. Munson has gone.
So-
and was to him.
No,
So,
Tim. Tim, no.
So here's the.
You spoke at the last one, so you don't get to speak at the next one.
Well, why did he get to speak twice?
He didn't speak tonight.
He spoke twice.
Not tonight.
Last time,
He did not speak tonight.
and he said he spoke twice the last time, so why can't I speak?
Not that, you only get one,
This is a violation of equal protection.
you get one meeting to speak
This
at.
is no, that's not the rules.
You get, yes, it is. You get one meeting to speak at.
This is a violation of my First Amendment, equal protection under the
You
law.
spoke at the last meeting.
I'm not worried about that.
You spoke at the last meeting.
Well, why are you allowing these people to speak twice at the last meeting and not me this time?
We let anybody that wanted to speak twice at the last meeting.
Oh, you didn't have that in the rules though. Why are you changing them now?
That was the last meeting.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, let me just.
Okay,
let me
you
just
spoke
tell-
at the last
Let
meeting.
me just tell you what I want to say, and I'll be done.
Briefly.
Sure. Okay.
No.
everyone, no one is perfect. You guys aren't perfect. I'm sure Mark isn't perfect. He gets an annual audit on his office, right? I've not heard any problems that have been raised from that. Okay, and if there are problems, well, sometimes it's clerical errors. Sometimes it's something that got missed, like I guess there was a $3.7 million fund that was found that was half of under Mr. Bittner's tenure. But you guys have a responsibility to focus on the position and not the man. The problem is not Mark isn't doing his job.
Well, I don't care who's there. I'm not concerned about the individual.
Mr.
I am
Munson.
concerned about the job.
Well, you haven't presented any evidence that the auditor's office would work better if it was appointed. All that says is that you would have more control, okay? But you already control the roles that he does. You can prescribe him work in many fashions of the policies that you want.
Okay,
Right?
no,
There
no,
are
no, no,
I have
Tim.
Hang on, you're wrong.
that you do not set policies for the auditor's office.
Right, we don't control.
You know, he has his duties and descriptions by the North Dakota Century Code, but the policies of how he carries those out is set by you guys.
Don't know that I can agree.
Yeah, well, I believe one of your requirements was an annual report or quarterly report, I don't remember which, submitted to you guys that hadn't been presented,
Forgotten, right?
that you changed it to an annual requirement. You changed it by a policy, which is why the newly hired finance guy gets up here and says, hey, this has never been done, I'm going to go do this. Well, yeah, when you change it, you make a new requirement by policy, or let's talk about the investment policies. You guys can change those policies. If you think that his office isn't getting you the gains that you need, you change the policy that determine how he invests. That's not a Mark problem, that's a commission problem.
Entirely wrong.
No.
And you guys,
Entirely wrong.
You're saying that you don't control the
All right.
policy of how they
Mr. Chairman.
make the investments.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
yes.
We have an investment policy that the county has. He is not, now, don't interrupt.
That you
He is
set.
not- He is not,
You said it.
the county commission does. We
The
set a
county
lot of
commission
things.
sets it.
We-
So if you don't like how it's going, change it,
If he keeps interrupting, how can we?
Let him speak, Tim.
okay? So now, Jerry, were you the one complaining about him not taking your notes, or was that Mr. Munson?
I don't know what you're talking
Okay,
about. So it
last
probably
meeting,
wasn't me.
last meeting, the complaint was that he's not taking notes for for his Parks Director, whatever, subcommittee, right? He's not your personal secretary.
Yes, he is. He's
No,
the secretary
he
to
is-
the board.
He is the
That's-
board secretary.
Exactly.
So at the board meetings, only the board meetings, he is taking the notes.
Well, you're wrong about that.
Tim,
Now, if you have a policy that
We
assigns
can't,
that,
we're getting off the.
if you have a policy that says there's something different, okay,
Yes, Tim.
then open it up to us. But that's not what's listed on the website.
Tim.
okay? Now, secondly, there was an accusation that Mark just isn't doing his job, that his staff is having to do his job for him. That's what they're there for! What the heck do you guys hire
Tim.
people for?
Tim,
Right? Okay. Now,
this commission has some concerns. This has got nothing to do with Mark. It's about the duties of the position.
Really?
Period. As per Century Code,
really, that stack is all personal. Everything I've heard from you guys is all personal.
okay, well,
There hasn't been a single.
that's your opinion. Tim, we're done. If you have something to pass out, please pass it out.
Well, now here's the other thing. You guys are going to Mark. This is another personal attack that you keep going back to and saying Mark doesn't have the qualifications, although by state law he does. He doesn't have the experience. You want to increase those, and you're told you can't do that by law. But then you don't have any factual data saying Mark's failing in his duties and responsibilities. I haven't seen anything presented to the public. Okay? Yet, on August 5th of last year, Commissioner Bittner and someone else, I didn't catch who said it, admitted that you don't know how to do the third most important job under the North Dakota Century Code. Okay? Now, you also said Mark has too many job duties and responsibilities. Mark and the finance director got up here, and you had a resolution, and he asked, I want you to clarify what you're asking for, that we're gonna do the taxes at the same dollar figure as last year. And that affects a change in mill levy rates. Okay? And you said, that's the first time I've heard of this. So you've been assessing taxes, that's the third listed duty of the commission, for how many years, and you don't know how they're figured out. You and another commissioner both said you can't do your job. What about the weed board? You guys kicked everyone off the weed board, or they resigned. I don't know the whole history of it.
No, this isn't about the
They
weed
weren't
board,
doing their
Tim.
job.
Tim, this
And
isn't
they were
about,
breaking the state law.
Okay.
I have that
Okay, fine.
portfolio, and I'll tell
But
you something.
do you have any
It was
people
the
that
best
have
move we
replaced
made.
it?
Pardon me?
yeah.
This is.
No,
And I got
we're
the
done,
documentation.
we're done here.
Okay.
We are done
Now-
here. It's not about the weed board. We're not discussing the weed board.
Sure. Well,
That's
I
something
can-
we've been very public about and have discussed openly at this table.
Why are you acting as the weed board then? Get it
It's our
filled.
job.
Get it filled.
Because it's legal.
To-
And
to
because
have the
we're
weed
also
board-
the park board, we're also the board of
It's a
health.
process. It takes time to get
Period.
fixed. We're done talking about
Okay.
that. So, Tim,
Here-
if you have
here's,
something to
uh,
pass out, please pass it out because you're done.
Here are your duties and responsibilities as a commission. There are 14 pages listed here.
Then pass them out.
I have one copy. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Mark has 8 pages in total, and fewer specified duties.
I will get copies of this and get it distributed
So-
among the board.
So my sincere request for you guys is stop wasting our time. This has been voted on twice. Overwhelmingly, the population don't like it. Overwhelmingly, what you have heard at these meetings, the population doesn't want you to change it.
You're
Okay.
one voice, so thank you for your
I
voice.
am one voice, and I'm referring to the other voices that you have heard. So if you've got a problem with Mark.
You're not the
work
only
it out with
voice,
him.
and it's not about Mark, it's about the position and doing the
Prove to
job.
me it's not about Mark.
That'll,
That's prove to me.
okay. Tim, you're
Right?
done.
Can anyone prove to me why it's
Tim.
not about Mark?
You're done. Yeah. No.
Go ahead. We would love to hear. It's been asked for at least once by the time I've been here.
Good
Yes.
evening.
So-
My name's Travis Jensen, lifelong resident of Burley County. Have dealt with you guys on several occasions. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but after what we just witnessed, we got some problems. You guys want to tell us these problems lie with the auditor. That's what we've been led to believe, is that these problems that we're seeing here, and that anybody who has followed along with Burley County over the last 5 to 7 years has been led to believe, is that this is all the auditor's problem, this is what's causing it. You guys have lost control. And if this meeting has not shown that, you guys have lost control. It's simple as that. You can all go back and look at your political downfalls. So before we start pointing the finger at the auditor for what he's done or what he hasn't done, or, Jerry, one of your comments at the last meeting was, well, is he qualified? Do you feel he's qualified? I'm not sure you're qualified. Quite frankly, I'm not sure you're qualified because if you remember right, the public spoke and they gave you your walking papers not so long ago, and you got reelected. We can all do better, right? Go ahead.
I've been elected 6 times, so it's not too bad, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, the people spoke though. That's
Yes,
what I'm
they
getting
did.
at is
Yes, they did.
they gave you your walking papers, you ran again, they gave you another chance to hopefully change. Maybe found a newfound confidence in you. I don't know. But we can sit here, guys, and we can look at each one of you and say you've had political downfalls. Steve, City of Bismarck gave you your walking papers, but we spoke. We had the right as citizens to decide that for ourselves, what is best for our community. I've been told by, several of you that there's people contacting you because they have concerns. I guess I'm not hearing them.
I'm sorry, you're not what?
I'm not hearing those concerns about the appointment.
Can I interrupt and?
Yeah, go ahead.
Take one instance that I got today.
Go ahead.
Okay, I got a letter from a Bismarck resident, Burley County taxpayer, just today, and we approve these abatements all the time. We do them every month. Well, his abatement was approved in January, which means he got a tax reduction because of homestead tax credit or something, misappropriate, whatever. He's supposed to get a check back from the county. This was in January, I don't know exactly the date, 7th or 8th, something like, first meeting in January. You know when he got his check? He hasn't gotten it yet. And reason why? Because he came in February and said, it's been 30 days, where's my check? And he's got a right to say that. And where is it supposed to be done by? Our chief financial officer right over here. It hasn't been done. He came back the other 30 days. Now, this is like last week. And he said, where's my check? Oh, we're too busy. We just haven't, it'll be another 3 or 4 weeks. So here we are. This is his job. We send him out normally every month. We get him every month. He hasn't gotten his in 2 months. Now, that's one of the small things that is happening. So just one. So that's a for instance right there. And there's a lot of them. I mean, there's 50 of them we've had.
Well, yeah, we supposedly got a pile of paperwork there almost 3 inches high that's being kind of just flaunted in front of us. You know,
Well,
like I said, I wasn't planning on speaking. I was here to observe, but after watching the circus that has taken place, you guys are all at fault. I'll be quite honest with you, bringing up the home rule charter thing, a lot of us have concerns about that because we feel that the committee was misled. And that goes back to the picking and choosing that brings some serious concerns. You guys are bullying, just like we seen with when the public health, you know, some of us watched these meetings for quite a while, and we watched City of Bismarck come up here and, you know, basically try to strong arm the county into this whole public health debacle. Some of us were watching that meeting, and we remember how that went down. What I've been seeing here, trying to look at it objectively, 'cause I don't really like any of you, to be honest with you. I think you guys have shown that none of you are really leaders anymore. I used to have a great respect for a couple of you, but you've all let this go down a road that it should never have gone down. So you brought up the abatements, right?
Right.
You opened the door for that. As a leader and as a representative of that individual that contacted you,
Yes.
what are you going to do about it?
What am I going to do about it? It's
Yeah, are we
his
going
job.
to? Well, yeah, but he
That's his
contacted
job.
you.
I'm going to
He
follow.
con-
I already contacted the person. Said we'll get on it. And
Because I'll be quite frank, from looking at
Well-
this, trying to look at this objectively, I'm looking at you guys want to appoint because you got control. You guys have not addressed whether she misspoke intentionally or not intentionally. You guys have not addressed it. Some of us want to know, because there was a couple gentlemen that have said themselves, they feel like they misled many of us who made phone calls to them and said, what do you think? And they went off the information that was presented to them, but you guys don't want to address that. Like I said, we've all had downfalls. This board has done great things, but lately, you guys need to be ashamed of yourselves. These aren't the leaders that I don't think any of us elected. If I had my we talked about recall tonight. I think we should recall all of you. Start over.
I don't agree with that.
That's fine. You can get up there and talk.
Amen.
Thank you, Travis. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. Second call for public hearing. Third and final call for public hearing. Public hearing is, come up. State your name for the record, sign in at the podium, and are you a Burley County resident?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Francis Schweitzer. I live in Lincoln, but I don't know if you need to do that, but. All right. I just wanted to say that us young people we are not involved very often. I just wanted to let y'all know that we're paying attention and there's some scary stuff happening all over the place. But I just think that we should always have the right as a people to vote for every position, honestly. But it doesn't happen a lot of times. But I just think for the city auditor, we should definitely be able to vote on who's going to be city auditor. That's all I just wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Third and final call for public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Just a little reminder, our next public hearing will be on March 22nd at Wilton Memorial Hall. And then it's 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the Sterling School on the same day. The following will be on March 29th at 10:30 a.m. at the Bismarck Burley Public Library. And then the final public hearing will be on April 7th at our regularly scheduled commission meeting. If you have not done so, feel free to weigh in, add comments, and at www.burley.gov. We do have a public input form available on the website. So with that, I will pass this meeting back to Chair Bittner.
Thank you, Commissioner Locken. I should let you know a little bit about that stack of stuff. It's been going on for quite a while, and the public hearing is closed. So we've been keeping track of a lot of issues, and I'd be happy to share that information with anybody that wants to spend the time to go through it. I should start, though, with talking a little bit about an article that was in the Bismarck Tribune Saturday. One of the things that was said in that letter was that there was a cut to the senior citizens budget. And I think that was probably a misstatement, but there was no cut to the senior citizens budget. What happened during the budget hearings is they came in with a fairly large request for some maintenance-related items, some different things like that, and the director of the senior center decided that she could do away with some of the increases for this year. So as I think, I don't know, 54,000, 57,000 or something.
57.
So there was never any cut to the services or the programs of the senior center. It was kind of a cut to some landscaping and some of those things that didn't need happening. So that was one thing. Another thing that really is serious to me, since I hold a number of the portfolios that are involved here, there was a comment that the finance department was specifically or essentially forbidden from working with the auditor on the budget. And I'm here to tell you folks that never ever happened. My position is for the finance department to do what they can for the benefit of Burley County, because they do work under the county commission. And in case there's any question about that, I'm sure the finance director would be willing to speak about that very briefly.
Chair Bittner and commissioners, yeah, that I never took any of our conversations, Chair Bittner, as forbidding us to work on the budget. In fact, we met 3 different times with the auditor treasurer to go over the budget line by line, essentially, or different parts of the budget line by line. The first that I recall was, I think it was in September, or it was at least prior to the final budget hearing, and the auditor treasurer asked myself and the deputy finance director to do this, to come and meet with him and go through the budget. And we went to his office, and we sat in his office and went through line by line. I think it was the general revenues. There may have been some other parts of the budget that we reviewed. And the second time was recently. Again, as I recall, the auditor treasurer requested that we meet, and we went line by line through the budget that had been passed. It was myself, deputy finance director, the deputy auditor treasurer, the elections coordinator, who's kind of our jack of all trades. He's also our accountant, and the auditor treasurer, and we met and went through the budget line by line. And that was, I think, in February. And then we had yet another meeting in February to go through, I think it was the transfers in and out and maybe some other items line by line. So we have been assisting. And prior to this, we had met in May of 2024. It was myself, the Deputy Finance Director, Deputy Auditor Treasurer, and HR Director. We met to discuss the budget, the job duties, and that there was some disagreement. The Auditor Treasurer felt very strongly that I was essentially responsible for the budget. He produced my job description and began reading through my job description. And I found myself repeatedly redirecting him to the first word of many of the job duties, which was oversee. And so, yes, the budget is in my job description, but it's an oversight position. And so that was kind of maybe how it all, that was the first meeting, I guess, that we had on the budget.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that, and Commissioner Woodcock.
Our final budget was approved back in September, right, of last year?
Correct.
And it was just posted last week. Do you have any reason why it took 6 months to post the budget, final budget, so people could understand and read it and peruse it and complain about it, whatever it was? It took 6 months. Was there any reason why that you know of?
Well, maybe, I mean, there might be some reason for delay because we had, I think after the final budget, I think there was, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 other times that the budget came before the commission prior to the deadline. So there is I think it's an October deadline by state law to pass the budget. So we were within that deadline, but I think there were 2 other times it came before the commission. After that, is there a reason? Probably not that I can think of. I mean, some of the reasons we were given is something to do with the accounting software. I don't think that's relevant. I had questions, concerns about the budget. I put the posting the budget to the website. I put those in an email to the county auditor in January. But no, I can't think of a good reason.
Commissioner Woodcock.
And I understand that our auditor asked our emergency manager to post the budget. Why would that be?
Well, I think to posting the budget, I think our emergency manager, much like our elections coordinator, wears many hats. One of them is the website, person. So that would be maybe the reason to post it. I did not see that. I'm sure I don't recall that email. I'm sure I saw it.
I'm not talking about an email. I'm talking about what actually happened was he asked the emergency manager to post it, which is his responsibility, not our emergency manager. That's what I was concerned about.
Yeah. It may be in her capacity as the website sort of person. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lee. There was also a mention, and I did pull out one thing out of the stack. The big concern I had was that people would think that it was some sort of a personal thing. But I need to point out to you that we've had problems even before this. For the year ending December 31, 2023, which was actually under 2 auditors. So 2023 was under 2 different auditors. So the results for the 2023 state audit would be reflective of both persons in that position. So this is not a question of whether it's personal to anybody. So they ask you some questions and then they give you some findings at the end of the audit. And I think there was mention about that they didn't find any mishandling or something with money. The problem is under internal control over financial reporting, question is material weaknesses identified. The answer is yes on this form. Significant deficiencies identified not considered to be material weaknesses. Yes. And then non-compliance material and financial statements noted. No. Then they go on to give us some of the what's called adjustments to the books. So right now the finance department from Burleigh County is in the process of going through the books of Burleigh County to make all necessary corrections. And the last I heard, they're up to approximately 30 corrections to the to the accounts for Burley County. Hopefully, we get those all corrected and anything else we find before it goes to the state audit, because the goal is to have a cleaner audit than here. So some of the things that had to be done with the general fund, we had to establish a due from other funds asset to offset negative cash balances in special revenue and debt service funds. Due from other funds, there was a cash error of 1.72 million. Remove February 2024 state aid from intergovernmental receivables and the revenue into intergovernmental receivables was 496,000, 424,000. Reclassify interest income to change in investment market value, 156,293. To record reimbursement from Morton County for Burley Morton Detention Center. Expenditures over to service revenues of 148,000. Reclassify salary expenses to contracted services expenses, 120,370. Reclassify interest income from Internet Service Fund to transfer in, 75,671. Special Revenue Fund, different subject here. Establish a due to other funds asset to offset negative cash balances in the Special Revenue Fund with the General Fund. Okay, so this is different from that other one. That's 1.691 million there. Adjustments to decrease inventory for 2023 used amounts, $579,738. Adjustment to record retainage payable from expenditures to retainage payable, 82,350. Reclassify interest income to change in investment market value, 271,702. Special Revenue Fund, reclassify prairie dog funds from a transfer into an intergovernmental revenue, 4,160,000. Reclassify miscellaneous revenue to intergovernmental revenue and sale of assets, 755,539. Another debt service fund, establish a due to other funds asset to offset negative cash balances in debt service fund with the general fund, 30,286. Adjustment to record of book activities for the 2020 sales tax bond, 31,924,816, plus a intergovernmental receivable of 2,106,392. Principal and expense on that, 2,647,750. Interest and fees, 781,718. Net change fund balance, that's where you move those other things to. Internal Service Fund, prior period adjustment to record missed payable from 2022, 224,159. Reclassify interest expense to transfer out, 75,671. Government-wide activities, prior period adjustment to remove 66th Street project from CIP, reclassify assets, numbers, to CIP, and to add back asset 4053 to capital assets, 351,000. Adjustment to record current period capital asset additions for assets 4578 and 4579, 61,480. Adjustments for the Water Resource District, fund level adjustments to record audit found payables, 150,829. To record retainage payable, expenditures to payable, 11,050. So that, to say that there was not a mishandling within the books would be a real gross understatement. And I do want to point out that we know that that is over the course of more than one auditor. So nobody's going to sit here and say it was just this one person and it's a personal thing. Now, that's one thing, and we are going to get into some more of that, I think, at additional public hearings yet, because it's obvious it's a lot of information to unpack. If anybody wants to meet with me, you sir, whatever, when you want to go through that information, we sure can. I'd like to get the meeting back onto meeting business, unless there's anybody who wants to comment about that thing I just read. Okay. Thank you. Next item, County Engineer Marcus Hall.
Anyone include the public?
No, not you. Come on, come on. You know, I'm joking, all right?
No. You,
I'll give you
All right.
a very
This is simple.
small window.
I'm not an auditor, right? I'm familiar with generally accepted accounting principles, right? And the function of the audit, as you said, was to make sure that when it goes to the state audit, it's cleaner. You're a business owner. You file taxes. Have you ever had to file a corrected tax return?
No, never.
No? You've never had to change your bank account balance to match everything? You
No,
have everything
never
perfectly
have.
recorded?
I
Okay.
pay guys to do that for me, though. But I pay guys who have
And none
those
of them do
qualifications.
it. Okay, anyway, all those
So
things
that's
that
not
you-
about me.
All those things that you mentioned there are some structural things. One of them is a lack of segregation of duties, which you might not, I read it. You might not have mentioned that, right? Does he have the personnel to run his office with enough separation that you can have two-person controls, right? And that's not a finding of fault, that's hey, there's a risk here, okay? So I
Right,
didn't find, I
that's
didn't
why
find
we
any.
that's why we have the finance department separate from the auditor department. Because that is that checks and balances, like you're talking
Okay.
about.
Are
And-
there
and-
things
and we
that the
also-
finance director's doing that you're blaming Mark for? He's the new
No,
guy,
he's,
right?
he's, the finance director has responsibility of oversight under the Burley County Commission. That job is to basically,
Oversight as a supervisor,
yeah, oversight.
okay?
You know,
Is this
to,
a gentleman
to,
that
like I
just
said,
was up
there's
here
over,
lead?
you know, I read, what was it, 19 or 20 deficiencies off of that, state audit, right?
Sure,
And right now, we're over 30 before we can get it to the state audit. So we're making corrections
yeah, and that's the
through the
purpose of that.
finance department.
That's the purpose of that. You do the audit, you have an auditor to make sure that all
Right.
the finances are right. And
Well, except that, you see, the finance director is fixing it after it's gone through the auditor's office, okay?
they work together, right? They're not silos.
We're gonna move on, okay? You know, I'm
Okay,
having
so the
troubles getting
point,
through to you.
but my point is that what you're talking about, they're not material mishandling of the money. It's a list of things that need to be corrected, because that's what you do at the end of the month. You balance your checkbook.
Did you hear the amounts that I was talking about?
$3.7 million missing for
Oh, more than
30 years?
We didn't have $3.7 million missing. It was off books.
I want to say something here. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
In our budget, which spilled over this year, you remember we had to raise tax 7.5 mils. Remember that?
What,
don't?
What are mills?
Mills?
taxes.
Tax rates.
That's your
Okay,
taxes.
you had to raise the mills, or you had to raise the amount of taxes?
Both.
We had a raise, we were short money.
Not if your property values increase.
Let me finish this little tale
Sorry.
here. But unfortunately, 3.7 million wasn't shown on the books.
Okay, and when did that go
We
missing?
can't go in and do the books, it's not our job. So,
When did
all
that go
you
missing?
people, I'm not done. So all these people out here, I want to remind you, it was never necessary to raise your taxes, but we can only go by the information that comes out of the auditor's office on what's in accounts and what's not. And if they don't disclose to us that they're short, that not short, but they're not showing 3.7 million, well, we got to raise your taxes, and that spilled over last year and into this year. So in other words, we actually have overtaxed you $8 million on account of that, and we don't have access to going in there and doing that. We can't go in and say, get your stuff straightened. So,
Yeah, you could make
what
a
do you
meeting
think?
with
Do you
them and say,
think, do you think that's right to all these people out here?
When did it go
That
missing?
their tax goes up like that? It was
When did
unnecessary?
it fall off the books?
Pardon me?
When did it fall off the books?
When wasn't it put back on the books is the question.
When did it fall off the books?
When a person
My
takes,
understanding is it was like 30 years ago.
No.
How many?
Right?
wait a
That's-
minute.
No.
Anybody that owns a business, when you get in there and you buy another business, the first thing you look at is the books. And the banks that we have money sitting in are constantly sending, this is
So I had a couple
account.
of commissioners
So
chuckle
the thing
here.
about it is, if it isn't counted, we can't count it when we do the budget, because we don't know it's
When did
there.
it go missing?
You
When did it fall off
understand?
the books? Right, because if it didn't fall off the books in the last 2 years, it's not
It
Mark's.
wasn't put on the books.
It was never put on the books. When was it supposed to have been put on the books?
A year and a half ago.
Okay? When, how, if it was supposed to be put on the books a year and a half ago, so it's more than a year and a half ago, then it was lost off the books, right?
It was in his,
It was in a bank account that no one knew was there. Okay, we can agree on that? When was that
why are
account
we
created?
arguing about this?
I have no idea. I'm
Uh,
gonna ask you,
Commissioner
I'm not
Schwab
gonna, I'm gonna ask you
No,
to sit down.
The short,
okay?
the short and the long of it was, information from the auditor's office comes to us every year when we're doing preliminary budget. They say we're gonna take in, and I'm estimating, say we're taking in $40 million in taxes, well, we're gonna be spending 43. So we gotta raise taxes $3 million to take care of that. They came with the information saying you need $3.7 million more. So we raised, and I wasn't on there, I was, by 2 years I wasn't elected. Anyway, they raised the 3.7 million. Another, next year, no, don't interrupt.
You've been on for
Don't
2 years?
interrupt.
Don't.
You've
Don't
been on for 2
interrupt.
years?
The next year, we did the same thing. We've had $8.1 million of extra taxes that were assessed that should not have been.
It's true.
That should not have been, entirely because of the estimates, that the auditor's job is to give us those estimates. So there we go.
But
But-
he has the files that he has.
Pardon me?
He has the files that he has.
Sure.
If he lost $3.7 million, you should fire him today.
We can't.
That's why we're
Okay?
here.
But none of you have said that he has lost it. You said that he didn't put it on the books
It
fast
wasn't
enough.
on the books, and there's a big difference. I didn't say he
Sure,
lost it.
sure.
We did not know that account had that money in it, and we had to make up for it in the budget, so we raised taxes.
Okay, if you have
I
a
mean,
computer,
you know, it's-
if you have a
it's
computer
simple.
with a hidden file,
Pardon me?
if you have a computer with a hidden file,
Do what?
a computer with a
Yeah.
hidden file.
Why are we letting him
You
in?
open it up, and you're looking there, and you don't see it. How do you know it's there? How does Mark know it's
I
there?
told you, the banks send you out statements.
Yeah, but if those
Every month.
if those statements aren't coming to the proper address for whatever reason,
I'm done. I'm
I
done.
don't
I'm
know.
done.
Do you have those receipts?
All I could tell you
We
is,
gave you
$8
enough
million
time.
I appreciate
is
it.
Yeah.
atrocious
And this-
Stop
this-
stop
this
the
is-
argument.
this is-
to tax.
Again,
Stop.
Just work
Just
it out
stop.
with him. That's your name.
Stop.
Just work it out with him, and you'll be
You-
good.
Do you understand the word stop?
Because there's no auditing being done by the auditor. The title needs to change. Our auditor doesn't audit.
Our auditor
That's
is
the
not
problem.
a
Yeah, you got
licensed
that
auditor.
right.
You
Might take a little time here. When I get a call from somebody that doesn't get the proper tax information so that they can fill out their taxes, and it seems to be concerning the poll workers. I went through this stuff, but Auditor Smskowski always complains he can't say anything. Could you come up here and tell us what happened?
Yes, sir. What are your questions?
Pardon me? What was your process? Did you mail out 1099s?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Did you mail out W-2s?
Yes.
When?
Here about a week or two, about a week ago.
So you were late with them?
Yes.
Well, my main concern on that, and I've got a lot of emails here, and I'm sure there are more, there's no use going through them. I want to forewarn you and the other departments, we're probably going to get audited by the IRS, and there better not be any shredding or deleting going on. Wouldn't surprise me if the state doesn't come in, and probably news people. Documents are not to be discarded concerning this, because there's a lot of stuff wrong with the way these people were treated.
I agree.
And that was-
I would,
and
I would
that's
love
your
for them to be able to-
responsibility.
Yep, and I would love for them to be able to see the emails
Yeah,
that went,
well,
went back and forth.
what am I supposed to tell them? I have no control over you. I can't go in there and tell you. You could have asked me and I told you.
Yep, and I can,
1099s are for contractors only.
yep, And we were
And
not directed.
W-2s go out like you get.
We were directed alternatively from our HR department.
So why did it take that long?
What?
No, you weren't.
Because.
No, you weren't.
No, you weren't.
Well, I can send you the emails.
Don't send me any.
Well,
Mr.
wait a
Chairman?
minute here.
Look, I don't think we're gonna bother with emails, because there was like 5 or 6 meetings about it that we have the record already, and we know that there's in excess of 40 emails about that. So, an early on thing, I think there was some kind of manipulating going on there, Mark. Go ahead, Commissioner
Mr.
Woodcox.
Chairman, just as information for the people in the audience who are listening. We had an election last fall, and this happens all the time. We have election workers. We hire them, we train them, they come and work the election, and it's all done. They get paid. And it depends, the dispute is how do they get paid? Well, they get a 1099, which is if you earn more, and kind of complicated, if you earn more than $600, we're required by the IRS to send them a 1099. In other words, saying that you earned this much, they report that on their income, and that's the way it goes. Or they could be a W-2, which is regular employee. Well, what happened with our office here? Nothing. They didn't get anything. So we had, I think it was 42 employees or 52 employees that didn't get anything. Now they've already filed their tax return, and now here we come now. Last week we sent out some W-2s, and here these people all have to file an amended return and pay additional taxes because they didn't declare this income. Well, that's happened not only this time, but last year the same thing, just because of, what do you think? Inaction of the auditor's office.
Inaction is definitely not the word for it. In fact, we went out and got consultation from a tax attorney to make sure that it was correct. I reached out to the
When
HR
was that
director.
done?
That was done this spring, because there was an issue found, and there was concerns brought forward that it shouldn't be 1099s. Now, that being said, we
Mark,
had all the election.
Mark,
So you don't want me to talk? Okay, go
No,
ahead.
I do want you to talk, but you said this spring, but I think it was in February here after the deadline had already passed for
Yes.
submitting W-2s. By the time you took the advice of staff, both the HR director and the finance director recommended that, from what I understand, that you contact a tax attorney for an opinion. So that was after the deadline had already passed. And I further understand that you had meetings with multiple people in attendance, and I believe some of those meetings were even recorded, where you were notified about this whole issue like last year, in probably beginning of the year, right?
Produce the emails. Because what we ended up doing is we got a W-9 from every single election worker. And there was concern and there was questions brought forward on how to properly handle the election workers. And one thing I do specifically remember coming out of those meetings was HR informing us, do not have them go over a certain dollar limit. I believe it was $2,000. Otherwise, we have to add them onto payroll. And so we had several meetings to manage our election workers to make sure they did not go over that deadline, that amount, which they didn't. Nobody did. And I know that we had every single election worker fill out a W-9, which would indicate that they would receive a 1099. This issue was brought forward to me or concern.
Start over again. What did you say? All election workers got a 1099?
A W-9 form.
They filled out
Yes.
a W-9?
Yes,
Okay.
which would indicate that they would receive a 1099.
And so they didn't
And
receive.
so-
And did they get a 1099?
They did not, because it was
Okay.
found that would be the incorrect way of filing it. So I reached out to HR and said, hey, which one should we give them? And she said 1099. And so we had a meeting. We had a discussion between HR, myself, and finance, and the finance director recommended that we get a tax attorney. And so I did. I reached out, tried to find a tax attorney as quickly as I could.
When did
we
they fill
finally-
out those W-9s?
We ended up finding them, and we got correct direction from him saying that we need to send out W-2s.
Right. The
That
problem
being
is this
said,
is
I
all
reached
after
out
the
to the
fact,
state's
Mark.
attorney.
This
That's
is all-
correct.
This is all after you missed the boat. I think HR director wants to.
And whose responsibility was all that, to do all that? Not mine.
We reached out to
Not
HR.
the commission.
We reached out to HR and tried
don't
to
think
implement it as we understood from them.
Okay.
And again, I'd like to see the emails. I'd like to see the video recordings of the meetings because, we want to get to the truth here.
Don't want to go down that road.
Chairman Bittner and Commissioners. It's not quite working here. I would like to tell you how that happened. We did have a meeting back in April of last year that said, if your election workers are getting close to $600, because that is the limit for the 1099, you need to let us know. We need personal action forms because we have to do I-9s, we have to put them on as employees, and we have to do payroll. We have to do timekeeping. That was not done. So in February, I get emails from our auditor saying, you need to get these employees W-2s. They're not my employees. Payroll is done. Payroll is done on our last payroll. Once W-2s go out for employees before January 31st, it's done. We can't undo anything. It's not like a general ledger system that you can adjust. Payroll does not adjust. So we have no payroll records for these 32 individuals because I was never informed or given the right paperwork to put them on. So what Auditor Splonskowski asked me to do is, in my opinion, commit fraud because I do not have payroll records for these people. But yet I was supposed to issue them a W-2. Our system automatically issues W-2s and does the uploads to the IRS. It's in HTML files. It's not copies of the W-2s. Uploads happen through HTML. We do all of our stuff the legal way, through payroll. Everything was done. This came along later. I can't help it that he didn't follow my directions. I have the emails. I have an audio recording where he admits that, yeah, you told me.
Obviously, we'll ask you to get that to myself and to the state's attorney. Thank you, Pam. Commissioners?
The thing, and Mark can address this, the thing that worries me is there's two things in particular. Number one, how those people were treated by not getting the returns and they want to file. And that could trigger off an IRS, like I said, audit. There's probably going to be all kinds of stuff now. It's one of them things. Everybody says, bring it up, bring it up. Well, okay, here it is. How do you replace election workers? These people that this happened to, they're not going to be there next year. Half of them will quit and say, we're done with it. And it's extremely hard to get people to work the elections. And from my perspective, why is it so important to make sure they don't go over the $600 limit? If they go over $100, you pay them $100. And they're going to appreciate it because this is part-time and most people are retired and stuff that are doing this. There is absolutely no excuse for this. And like I say, we'll see where it all goes. I'm done, Mark. You can go.
I don't know if you guys all got the contact, but I even got a contact from a former Secretary of State for the state of North Dakota wanting to know where his paperwork was so he could file his taxes. That really got my attention.
I got one from a former county commissioner, said the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd like to file my
I've
taxes.
actually gotten quite a few, yeah. Okay. I guess we've pretty well covered that for today. Commissioner Bakken?
One more reminder for the public hearings for redesignating the elective office of Burley County Auditor Treasurer to an appointed office. And this does come back to just input of the residents and taxpayers of Burley County. Our next meeting is March 22nd. That's this Saturday, 10 a.m. at Wilton Memorial Hall, 105 Dakota Avenue in Wilton. March 22nd, also this Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Sterling School, 118 Mackenzie Street in Sterling. March 29th at 10:30 a.m., 221 North 5th Street, Bismarck Burley Public Library. And April 7th, the final public hearing will be at our regularly scheduled Burley County Commission election meeting in the Tom Baker Room right here on April 7th at 5 p.m. Once again, public input is available. There's a form available on the website at burley.gov. So please, we do want to hear from our residents of Burley County.
Thank you, Commissioner Buchan. Appreciate that update. Anything else for the good of Burley County? We're adjourned.